On the escalator again.
Leave it alone.
What?
Comics.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
TV and movies. Wrestling. Music.
We are just getting started!
Finally, a podcast about things you actually care about, hosted by a couple of guys who actually care about those things too.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Maybe a little too much.
Yes, that's awesome.
The talented one, Chris Machete.
That no-talent ass clown became famous.
And Brenton, you know, that guy from your other favorite podcast.
I liked it. I was good at it.
So grab onto the handrail and don't let go.
There's a little boy caught the escalator!
This is the Kids on the Escalator podcast.
Woo!
Here's CM and BD.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Woo, the chin of steel. Look at it. Still,
This was the first one you gave me.
I gave that. That's like nice, and it's still in its original packaging.
Still in the original box.
Yeah.
For all
the Man of
you
Steel.
40-year-old virgin fans out there that think that it's that he's lame and all the rest of it, we keep it in the box. You're supposed to have one to play with and one to keep in the box. So I got two in the box. What's in the box?
What's in the box? Gotta have two in the
what's
box.
in the box on a Monday
That's what he
night.
said.
That's a Superman Justice League toy. That's got to be from like what, 2002?
Something like that,
I
huh?
think it's let me look here for a minute. See if I can get some kind of 2003.
Oh, sweet. There you
So
go.
that would have been their 2002 or 2004 series. I'm not 100% sure.
Nice. It's a good series, though, because they make them really crappy now, man. I was looking in Toys R Us at them, and it's like, boo earns. Man.
Yeah, some of them are kind of lame, but anywho, hello everybody. It is Monday night. It is Kids on the Escalator podcast. We're hanging out on the Dean Blundell Network. I am going to drink a near beer in a Kids on the Escalator mug right there.
That's great.
Which is pretty slick, but I'm going to do that. And I got all dressed up. I got my Superman shirt on
That's awesome.
and all the rest of it. You know what I'm saying? Because today we're talking Superman. Last week was
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Your favorite.
Last week was Spider-Man.
hmm
And this week is Superman. But more importantly, we're going to dive into the Man of Steel movie, which, you know, doesn't had these mixed reviews, and I dug it. But anyways, we'll dive into that in a bit. Let me
Yeah, I
take
just
a
watched
sip.
it again. I liked it too. I remember watching it the first time and thinking, okay, well, this is all right. And then I never, I'm not being a huge DC guy. Didn't watch it
Yeah.
again for a while. And then I watched it again maybe a year ago, I think. And I remember thinking, wow, this was really good. And then I watched it again just lately. I
Yeah,
was like, this is a damn good movie. I remember texting you. I was like, why doesn't everybody like this movie?
I
Because
don't
Brent's the DC guy. He knows DC folks, right? I know a
Yeah,
few.
I don't
Anyway,
know.
it said, well, why doesn't people like it? I couldn't understand it because I thought it was well paced. I thought the actors and actresses were all very well played. I thought if you're going to get a villain, Zod is amazing villain. You know
You know what's funny, because like I think if you look at the timing of it, I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but Superman Returns came out with Brandon Routh.
Mhm.
And people were like, okay, I guess that's the new Superman. And then the movie kind of died. And I didn't even hate that movie. I thought, okay, Superman's back and the and all the rest of it. And then they're like, well, we're going to relaunch it again. It's like when they put out like, well, it's not too different than this Batman thing going on. So it's
Right.
like,
Why did they do that though? Do you know why? Do you know why
No,
they
I think I
didn't follow
so-
through with the Rolf character or whatever his name was?
He wasn't from the reviews that I heard about it, is that they weren't really feeling it. So
So he
they
just
went another
basically
way.
it was a talent thing.
It was a talent thing. And it's kind of interesting because you see what's going on with Batman right now, which in essence is like, okay, well, you had Bale and then you went to Affleck, and then now you've got this kid, James, what is his name? Robert Pattinson.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like, people are like, how many Batmans are, what the hell is going on? And you got like three, So I don't think it's too different than that from the standpoint of like, maybe it was, like the Man of Steel was just like, oh, another Superman. Like, what are we doing? Again, DC's completely dropped the ball. Instead of laying it out and saying, this is part of the big plan, and we got this whole thing going on, it sort of went to Superman versus Batman. And then it was like, they didn't really continue Man of Steel. Like they didn't do like Man of Steel 2 and set up. It was like
Right.
Superman versus Batman. People are like, why is Superman facing Batman? It's just confusing. It would be like doing Iron Man versus Superman. And people going, but why are they facing each other?
It had its moments, because the Jump they had Zod, and then Zod turned into Doomsday, which was cool.
Mm-hmm.
The comic book story, I believe Doomsday came from another planet. I just watched a cartoon about Superman fighting Doomsday, and he came from Earth. So there's a few different variations. There you go again, right? Look at all the different origins of Doomsday. The guy who killed Superman. I have the comic book here. But I was watching that today, and again, it was okay. It wasn't bad, but they just keep changing up the different schematics of him, right?
There's so many, and when we had Ken Lashley on there a couple months ago,
who's going to be in Kingston over the next
I
few
just
weeks.
saw that he was going to be signing some stuff on the 18th there.
On the 18th, there you go.
He was like, basically in essence saying that the working environment between Marvel and DC are night and day, and Marvel's more of a party and DC's all business and all suits. And
I want to interject. I wonder if it's the same way when you go to get your paycheck. Oh, don't worry about it, buddy. We're going to pay you, man. We're Marvel. We're going to pay you. And DC's like, oh, no. The check now. Oh, no, thanks you. I got my money. So I just had to interject that. Wouldn't that be funny?
It's so weird. It's so weird because but it just feels like it. And, when I think Kevin Smith still tells the story best on the Superman front, because Kevin Smith, they asked about doing a Superman movie and he was like, bring it on. And we as Kevin Smith guys and naming the podcast after Mallrats, I mean, when Kevin Smith was told he's going to do a Superman movie or asked to do a Superman movie, but then he had to deal with the producers. And then we've touched on it before, but they insisted on having him fight a giant spider. And it was just like,
again, I just want to interject one quick thing. Watching that cartoon today, Superman defeated whatever villain it was. And one guy in the crowd said, well, that was easy. And another guy says, well, it wasn't like it was a gigantic robot spider. And I was like, that was awesome, right? That was in Superman Doomsday movie cartoon. Right. That's
a direct hit on Peters, who owns the film.
How big of a hole and stupid that would have been to go with that route. What was the producer or the writer that was doing that?
John Peters.
And what else has John Peters done? Say, I'm not familiar with him.
Well, I just saw him pop up on something the other day, actually, and he's still producing stuff. But he did like that Wild Wild West with Will Smith. And
I know.
The big giant spider in it. Yeah. But I'll look into it in a minute. But he basically owns the rights to Superman, and it was just a really tough, because you can clearly tell they're not letting that intellectual property go without their input, instead of just handing it over like Disney did with Star Wars, or handing over that side of it. They basically want to be right in there. And I think it's really hurt it, because
you can really...
I think it's, because Man of Steel should have got more play. I really love it. So that's the topic today. We're going to talk about Man of Steel. Let's, I guess in essence, we can talk about how DC really still hasn't gotten it right, and maybe they will get it right. Get it right with the introduction of this new Batman. Maybe we can have a bit of whatever, or maybe they'll just do a new Man of Steel movie with Henry Cavill. And I like the guy. I think he's a great Superman. I think he's perfect for the role. But I also really dig the Superman and Lois Superman too. That guy's awesome as that character. So lots to dive into.
So with this new DC movement, though, like as you're saying, there's this new DC movement coming out, right? With the new movies with Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
What are they doing? What's the whole game plan here? So are they cutting that Snyder's universe? Is that what they're doing? The
Snyder thing is not. They're not continuing that at all.
That's it. So that's the end of the Snyder universe.
Yeah, Snyder. Okay. That's it. It ended with that. But they did do some reshoots and a few other things that they were kind of poking around with, about maybe taking that Joker character that we talked about, Jason Todd, sort of maybe playing on that a little bit. But I really, that's going to live in the Justice League universe. Yeah. So if they go on with another Justice League, then you might see some of that Snyder kind of stuff come into it. But I still, we're inundated with Marvel. We're inundated with Star Wars. We're inundated with all of this stuff, but we're not getting the answers on the DC front, as far as I'm concerned.
It's not a universe that's easy to jump into and have it all flow nicely and enjoy, right?
One of the main problems, Superman versus Batman.
What? Pardon me?
Well, clearly Batman versus Superman. It's just getting hammered,
right?
As far as they didn't cross it over properly, and it was just
no. Instead of retconning some stuff, instead of starting over, would have been a kind of a smart thing to do. But yeah, I guess they're just going to gonna trash it all. But I thought that so in the Man of Steel, that's good. Man of Steel,
He had a
Man of Steel. I was looking up on some of the online bashing on the movie, and a large majority of the diehard Superman fans disagreed with the fact that he snapped Zod's neck at the end there, right?
Yeah.
That he wouldn't do that, and all the destruction. Well, I don't think they did. Okay, so if you're going to dive into Superman and be that nitpicky and be that realistic about that, then why don't you take in consideration that this is him just starting to actually be Superman? You know, how good were you at your job the first week you took on your job? You know what I'm saying? He's like, what they're trying to show in this movie, at least what I got out of it, is you got this guy who's really mixed up in the noggin. And this is before he settled down with Lois Lane. Now, Lois Lane and Mary Jane in Spider-Man have very similar things. What they do for the hero is they keep the hero grounded. They keep the hero thinking, no, you're doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Because they're mortal. They're humans. If Spider-Man if Superman, well, I'm talking about Superman here, sorry. If Superman didn't have Lois Lane, he wouldn't really know which way to turn, which way, like he could be coerced by many different things on Earth. And they've showed it in different renditions of him, if he could be evil. And we're going to touch on that later, because the greatest twist of Superman has been done. But keeping on with Lois Lane keeps Superman grounded and keeps him so that he can make the right decisions and continues to do that. All right. You need that human in there doing it. He couldn't talk to his Ma Kent about that because she didn't really know the extent of what he was doing. And plus she's his mom. She's just like, just be safe. You know what I mean? Where Lois is more of a daring individual. So this all happened before he locked in with Lois Lane. See, Lois Lane brought him out of his whole fit when he came back to life and was going to kill everybody. Right. And that is another great thing that a lot of people are overlooking, is the importance of Lois Lane to Superman. And she jokes about it. You know, don't you remember saving me? Because you've done it a few times, right? Because that's all she did. Back in the day, she was a joke character. She was the fuel for Superman to rescue somebody, right? Lois Lane was off doing something silly again. Well, not anymore. Now Lois Lane is what keeps a superhero, a supposed god on planet Earth, grounded so that he doesn't fly off the handle. It's not the government. It's not the police.
And
it's
more,
not his mom. It's not his dad. It's his wife or significant other.
No more than that than in Superman and Lois.
Great, series. And that's what a great segue to that, right? We should finish up. We should finish up on this movie, though.
Yeah, I'm just making that point that they really focus on that with that Lois and that. So back
excellent,
to
and that's a great point, right? Like that. Yeah. That is, and that's. But the hacking on it, they didn't. The people who are hacking on it don't take. It's never taken this into consideration. Where my point is, if you're really going to deep dive into it, be a big boy. Do a proper deep dive. Get all the way in the water, right, Brent?
Yeah, and I think, the big thing about Superman, and we've touched on it before, is there's not really anybody that can rival him.
Well, yeah, that's the hardest thing about him.
Right? Everyone else has got somebody that can, villains. Someone's got to be able to, like Lex Luthor is always there because he's the the mastermind, and really it's all about just him.
He's an evil Tony Stark, man.
Yeah, that's all he is. And he's not even a joker. He's basically like, I've got Tony money Stark. And I'm just going to keep trying to take over. I'm just going to, pull off these things. So it's like Superman against a henchman. And it's like, is he going to get outsmarted? It's never about, is he going to kill him outside of like, I'm going to destroy him by bringing this and bringing this, but it's never really about destroying Superman. It's almost like working around him to just,
tricking him, controlling
him, and
right?
controlling the mind and stuff like that, and kryptonite this. So you don't really have that like guy that can totally defeat him per se, outside of getting very supernatural. And they've tried that with other things. They do a really good job. Well, I think Zod is great because Zod is like from his planet, and really ultimately, and with what they do with Superman and Lois and what they do with all these things, it's ultimately the only person that can really defeat him is another Kryptonian. Mm-hmm. So this is why I keep coming back to Superman and Lois, the TV series, because I think you would love this, because they do. I know you haven't watched it yet, which is amazing to me, but there's only so many things that you can watch, I get. But holy, do they ever do a good job. Like, this is the guy that plays the Superman there, clean cut kind of dude. that's the cast. They got the Jonathan Kent, they got the kids. It's a really cool like series that dives into the stuff that you just talked about. It dives into, hey, Lois is actually the hero here.
She's like
Lois
his
is actually
psychologist.
Yeah,
The world
yeah.
should be thanking Lois for keeping Superman from turning in from not from like from turning into
Totally.
Homelander, right? So
Totally,
that's what
'cause
Homelander doesn't have. Homelander doesn't have that. Has never had that.
no, and it's like the difference between those two, which we could spend 20 minutes on too, but it's like
Maybe
one was
we'll talk about it at
raised,
the end.
and
Yeah.
one was raised, and the other one came with these. There's just so many differences. But anyways, back to um, the things that you're touching on as far as like grounding Superman.
Mhm.
They dive into all of that with Superman and Lois, and that's what I
great.
really liked about Man of Steel as well, because I really felt that there was a grounding happening with him, and he was a more it was it had that sort of Dark Knight feel to it, where they were really telling this cool backstory about this guy, and this guy's got some baggage in him, and they really bring it out in that. Whereas it's not the Christopher Reeve like ha 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 ha, like the best Superman of those three was definitely Superman 3 when he did the alter ego, and that was
I like two of the original ones. I like two myself.
Well, 3 was campy. You had Richard Pryor, you had the whole thing, but they did the split personality with Superman, which I thought was amazing, because you're like, wow, now they've taken this guy to like, he's wow, look at that's a bad Superman, right? It's a bizarre world. It's like whatever. So, anyways, the Man of Steel thing was cool because Russell Crowe plays a subtle Jor-El, and then you've got I think Kevin Costner plays his dad, right?
Mhm.
And that's like
He plays Pa Kent.
yeah, he plays like a subtle one, and it really flowed nicely. I really loved it. I thought the Zod and Michael Shannon, who played Zod, was really hot coming into that, because he was just off on Boardwalk Empire. Everyone was like, "Who's this guy, and why is he so great?" And so then he was cast perfectly.
Oh, he was great. He was great. That's why I thought the villain was amazing in that, and then to have him key up to tie into the story later that Luthor gets a hold of his body, he turns him into Doomsday.
Yeah,
I thought that was a really good link. So that would be in Batman versus Superman, where Doomsday comes into play.
Correct.
If I remember correctly, right?
And
So
I think
I'm going to watch that next.
What's his name was Luthor, was the kid from
Adventureland, buddy.
Adventureland guy. Yeah, he was
Jesse Eisenberg.
Jason Eisenberg, and they do there's that young kid Luthor, which is fine. I think we've talked before about like enough with the Lex Luthor and enough with this and that. Again, that's where they're limited, because they've just told the story so many ways that it would be really great to find a way to, go from there. Now, an interesting fact that I'm not sure a lot of people know. Do we know, and you can probably answer this, but I think a lot of the other people can't, and why people can't tell the difference between Clark Kent and Superman?
Oh, that's apparently it's because of his personality, right?
No, it's
He's got magic glasses now.
So the theory about this thing is that his he's an alien. He has the ability to project a different perspective.
Oh, that's new. I've never heard that.
It's awesome. So the idea is that the glasses allow him to project this.
Wow. But again, now what can't
perspective?
He's got. You're just putting, or you're not. But they're putting more powers on top of a guy that's already invincible. Like, oh my gosh, dude! It just makes it so hard to find a really realistically good villain for him.
Well, that's got to be though the most asked question in the history of things. All he's doing
you're
is
right. You're
putting
totally
on
right.
glasses. How do we not know? Yeah. I mean, you got a cowl for Batman. You've got Iron Man behind a mask. But how do they not know that Superman is Clark Kent? And they haven't really touched on it too much, but they've touched on it in Superman and Lois a bit, and a few other things, that he has got this thing that projects from his.
So what do you think of that? Do you think that's a good idea or a bad idea? Do you like that?
Well, if they run with it, it's great, because then it just answers that little thing that we're like, that we're always at. It really answers the simplest question of like, why can't you tell the difference? It's like, because Superman ultimately is projecting some Kryptonian, his Kryptonian powers, and the glasses project, and they don't, and no one can tell the difference between the two of them. It's great.
You think he
So
would do that with when he's fighting people, though, wouldn't he? Wouldn't he use that in battle? Like,
let's
I
start
wouldn't.
with just the first thing.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean?
One
Like,
thing at a time. One thing at a
would,
time.
I would use that in battle if I was fighting somebody for
Yeah.
sure. Where'd Superman go? He's over there. No, that's not him. He's over here. No, he's not.
It's quite something. But Man of Steel was done amazingly, and I really just thought that they and one of the things that they did get right in Batman versus Superman to me was that beginning. So I think people were hating on it because of Ben Affleck, but the beginning of watching him fight Zod
I got
at the end of
Batman.
Man of sorry. So
Right.
Superman's fighting Zod at the end of Man of Steel and going through all these buildings, and then they tie it in and go, well, while he was doing that, he was
Batman
causing
was-
all this destruction on the
Yes.
ground, and Batman's like, this guy's ripping apart my city. I'm gonna go fuck this guy up. That was amazing.
Yeah, I
to
gotta
be able to-
so now I want to rewatch Batman versus Superman. I'm gonna dive into that maybe tonight. I don't think I
Yeah.
got anything else going on after this.
Yeah, it
watching
was a really great. It's a really great sort of like the psyche on it is great. I just don't think people bought into Affleck, which is a shame because I really think that if you look past that and look at what they were
That's
trying
tough,
to do
though,
with that
dude.
movie.
That's tough. It's like when we always say, like, why how can the consuming public of music not like this song? And then
Right.
the stuff they do like is like, what is going on with these people's ears? You know what I mean? So I think it's the same with their vision. They can't get past. Well, look at me, buddy. I can't get past Bob's Burgers voice for Archer. Like, I just can't get past it. Mind you, I watch TV a lot when I'm working. So, oh man, I look up and it's like, no, that does not work. It doesn't.
Which is
phrasing, it
so
doesn't
funny
work.
because it's one of the best written goddamn shows I've ever
Well,
seen.
probably that guy's great
You know what I
too.
mean?
You know what I mean? Like he's amazing.
Yeah.
I watch Bob's Burgers, but just saying. So
Yeah.
I could see how people see. I had a hard time with Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne, but I thought he was a great Batman. Now maybe I mentally couldn't get through because he's in a couple of my favorite movies of different actors that I would never even dreamed of him being Batman at that point, right?
What do you think of when you think of Bruce Wayne?
Who do I think of?
No, what do you think of when you think of Bruce Wayne? Do you like older? So Michael Keaton is rumored to come back as
Old man,
older Batman,
the Dark
And,
Knight version from Frank
That's
Miller.
right. And so like you've got like he's like this 60-year-old retired Batman that's still like whatever. So when you think of Bruce Wayne in the 60s, it was like, Adam West, and he was always older. It wasn't until like Christian Bale that had this mid-30s kind of like billionaire guy, and you're like, okay, but Christian Bale, outside of some of the stuff that he's done, it was known as a character actor, so he slid in. Ben Affleck is known as a movie star.
Mm-hmm.
To me, anyways, Ben Affleck is kind of a movie star, and I can find that a bit distracting. That's why I thought they tried with Brendan Routh with Superman, and it was like he was so unknown. It was like, okay, but then Henry kind of was like also unknown, but then was like, yeah, but he's a little bit more Superman than, and so Affleck kind of like I think is too big for the role. I thought he was too big for the role. I didn't hate him, and I was excited that he was going to do it, but maybe that's why people didn't get behind it.
Yeah, it could be. You could be right.
But I the whole thing, Zod, again, we're back to Zod coming, and they have to kind of retell the story again. Okay, we're all familiar with Superman, so where can we go now with it? Like, what do we do now? Because
they have to find outer world, and unless Lex Luthor, they have to find outer world villains for him. So when Superman has a villain, the Earth has a villain. Whereas when Spider-Man has a villain, a section of New York has a villain.
Totally.
Or Batman, when Batman has a villain, it could range from all of Gotham to just a part of Gotham. You know what I mean? He's protecting Gotham, and Gotham's like a section there where Superman has to take on the Universal. And then think of it even crazier is what about with the Justice League when they all get together? How powerful does that villain have to be and does that happen every day? What the F, man? Like the Avengers don't get together very often.
Everyone's been miscast in Justice League. Like I'm just not. I guess Jason Momoa looks like what's his name? Sorry, my brain
Jason
for a second.
Momoa looks like Aquaman.
So he looks like Aquaman.
The new Aquaman, yes.
It was written terribly, and it was just, I'm like, ugh. And Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, sure, awesome. But again, the new Wonder Woman.
I haven't seen that. My wife wants to see it. I haven't seen it.
And sort of like you've got, like it's such a difference of writing. It's like the writing is so good on Marvel, And in DC, it's like dark and brooding, and I don't know. It's just so interesting to me that like how DC keeps messing this thing up, and I'm just waiting for them to like, oh, that's an incredible idea for Superman, and as a
Well,
Superman guy.
to the Superman show that you like, apparently the DC shows are awesome, and I love Titans. I
Oh
think Titans is
yeah,
fantastic, and the continuity in Titans, everything flows nicely. They're getting ready for the third season. It's great. Titans is one of the best TV. Like if I had to rate my superhero TV shows,
yeah.
oh, it would probably be in there right after WandaVision. I'd probably go WandaVision, then I'd go Titans, man, because Titans is great.
I agree that they, the TV version of the DC universe, that they really, and maybe it's because they get 20 episodes to get it right, or they got 20
Mhm.
episodes to build out an arc.
I'm
I'm
not trying
not
to do too
sure.
much either, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, whoa, we got to compete with Marvel. No, it's a TV show on the WB. Like, so, and the Flash is really good, especially like Alex really like
Mm.
the generation. They really like the Flash,
Yeah,
right?
Alex loves it, and it's so good that they're
Mhm.
actually, because Alex is all pissed that they're not using the guy from the TV show in the movie,
Right,
but
right.
they are going to cross over and bring him in. So there's this whole generation thing. Like I think it's happening in Spider-Man, where you're going to get all the Spider-Mans and all the rest of it. I think the same thing is kind of happening on the Flash side, where they're going to have this, and then they're going to have the TV Flash guy,
Mhm.
because it's just so good. This Superman from Superman and Lois, he's the everyday kind of guy. He's, he's in pretty good shape. He's like whatever, but he's like a dad. He's kind of nerdy, like Superman kind of is. This is the
Mhm.
best Lois I've ever seen. She's so good.
Really?
The
Right
girl
on.
that plays this Lois,
Yeah.
she's so good. And it's, they just hit all the things. That's where I want them to kind of look at that series. And that's where they go, well, look at all these things. Like
Mhm.
Lex Luthor isn't really a part of this new series, but
Oh, cool. That's interesting.
remnants of Luthor are, because in the Bizarro world,
Mhm.
Superman is a bad guy
Mm.
and he wipes out everyone in Metropolis. And so Luthor comes to our Earth and
Mhm.
goes, no, you're not going to do here what you did to me. But it's just this incredible story arc that they do.
Wow.
And you're just like, wow, and I have to go back into my Superman stuff to find out where those ones are where he's evil,
Oh,
where he
okay,
turns
yeah.
bad, and he's struggling with, am I good?
Mhm.
Am I bad? Am I going to use my powers for good, or am I going to use them for bad? And
Mm.
they do this really cool arc in there that I'm not going to ruin for you, but it's really, he's faced with this scenario where he has to decide whether he's a good guy or he's about, like, you can't deny who you are. You
Nice.
can't deny who you are. And if you continue to pander to these Earthlings,
Mhm.
you're ignoring everyone from Krypton, and you are
Right.
a traitor. And he's fighting with that like halfway through the season. I'm telling you, dude,
Mhm.
you'd love it. If you like the
Great.
Flash, you're gonna love it. They really do a
Yeah.
great job with it.
Well, it sounds like, as I was saying, DC television really gets a lot of thumbs up from comic book viewers. They really enjoy the TV. Apparently, they're not trying to do too much. They're it's not like, hey, here's the next Infinity War, or wow, we got to keep up with this and that. The funny thing too is we haven't mentioned the Hawkeye series. I haven't watched that. It hasn't even
Yeah.
on my radar, to be honest with you. But have you
I'm
watched Hawkeye?
marveled out. I'm marveled out for the time being, and I don't
Yeah,
mean
I'm
that
just
out of
it's like
disrespect. I'm just like, oh, there's another one.
time to go
It'll
back
be
to the
on for a
comic
while.
books, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm okay right now, because
Yeah.
I'm just like, hey, one thing at a time. I went and
So
saw
on the
Eternals. I went and
Lois,
saw,
you did. We can't talk about it yet because I haven't seen it. And from
no,
what
that's
my
fine.
comic book, but my local LCS guy tells me, comic book store owner says, if you're a hardcore comic book fan, you are gonna love it. If you're not a hardcore comic book fan, you are not gonna want to sit there for 2.5 hours.
Eternals.
Yeah, yeah, because there's a
Go
lot of
see it.
it. As I mentioned,
Go
it's
see it. We'll
information.
talk about it, because I
Yeah,
wanna pick your brain about it.
cool.
I know
Yeah,
you were excited about it, but I went and saw it, and
no, I know.
and I,
We'll
and
deep
I'll leave
dive
it.
it.
But
We'll deep dive it.
oh yeah,
Venom's coming out. Venom's out on digital now as well, so we can watch Venom. I can watch Venom
Carnage.
here at
Yeah.
home, which will be great. I'm a huge fan of that. And then Venom #1, they just started a new series for Venom in the comic. What they do is they'll go to a number and then they'll start over again with their
Yeah.
storyline, but they'll keep the legacy number underneath. So it'll be Venom 1, but legacy number 237, something like that. So
There's
that's
there's there's not you're not. Why did you go? Why did you go Marvel? Like, where does DC rank for you?
Well, I like
Because
Spider.
you like Lobo, you like Daredevil, you like all these different things. But where does
Well,
DC in a whole
here's the
rank
thing.
for you?
So as a kid, when I first discovered comic books at a very young age, probably like 6 years old, you put a detective comic in front of me, an action comic in front of me, an Amazing Spider-Man comic in front of me, and an Avengers comic in front of me. And
Yeah,
what ones are a 6-year-old going to gravitate to? I'm going to look at Superman and be like, okay, well, this is kind of, he's not really fighting anybody, he saves an earthquake. You know what I
that's a
mean?
great looking cover, though.
That's a
I'd
great
want
cover,
that.
right? But this is 6-year-old me with the comics that are available.
Yeah,
And then look at Batman, and it's like Detective Man. I'm not getting it. And then Spider Man's like, whoa. I think
yeah.
he was fighting. Who was he fighting at that time? It was the original Clone Saga. I talked about this on another podcast. The Jackal was in there, and the Tarantula. And it was such a great storyline. And then the other one was the Avengers, and this was around the I think it was when they were fighting a lot of things inside New York City, like Shogun Warriors broke loose there. There was the Masters of Evil that came out. So it was that kind of thing. It was just like, and Marvel's like action, 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 action. And DC is more like, info stories, where Marvel had more of the pow factor for me. Of course, being a kid, right? You know what I mean? I wasn't old enough to, and I loved Batman. I love the Batman TV show. That was like, that and the Spider-Man cartoon growing up were my two favorites. Like, just loved them. My problem with the Superman cartoon at the time, again, was he was fighting like an earthquake or an airplane that was crashing, where you switch over to Spider-Man, he's fighting the Scorpion.
Sure.
Batman's powing it out with Robin and fighting the Joker, and then you go back to Superman again, and he's stopping a train from going over a cliff. Like, come on, there's no comparison for a 6-year-old at that time. So that is why I went Marvel. And then, of course, once you start collecting stuff, I still got comics from when I was, probably 7-8 years old. When I was 6, I don't have those ones. I thought I did, but I don't.
It's an interesting one, because you really, as a comic book fan, and as we are, you especially can still dive into almost every single storyline from every comic. Whereas somebody like me, I don't have anything Spider-Man. Actually, I never bought a Spider-Man comic in my life leading into it. I was always DC, and that was just where I was. And I paid attention to it wasn't really until all this stuff with Iron Man and the Avengers and stuff that I really started paying attention to the MCU, honestly, if I got to be honest with you. And that was just because I wasn't necessarily interested in that side. Spider-Man's always been cool. Awesome. Love the cartoon, as we talked about last weekend or last week. But it was always about Batman and Superman for me, always. And so that's why I was so excited when they were doing all these things. So I can only touch on that side of it. That's why I always have to ask you all the Marvel questions, because I'm like, what does that mean? What does this mean?
It's like part of my life history, basically. You know what I mean? It's like, that's part of my life history. That's funny, because when I learn that stuff, it sticks with me too, which is really funny. You asked me to work some multiplication skills I learned. Man, I can't help you with that. But you asked me knowledge about comic books in the 70s and 80s, and I'm pretty good. I actually get paid for it to do it with mental health with some students. Yeah. I do. So it actually, I get paid to do it as well. So yeah. So take that, high school bullies, up yours.
So you had some fan mail. You had some fan mail.
Yeah, we got some. Well, we did. We both did. We got some fan mail. This is great. This was for the show. So
I'm going to put you, let you go. I'm going to isolate you for a minute, and then I'm just, I'll be right back. You go ahead.
Okay. All right. So this is on. So we are on Facebook as well. I'm one of those guys that just kind of gets in front of the computer screen here and goes. My wife is the producer, so she sets everything up for me. And funny story, she's not feeling well right now. Her and my daughter went out and picked up some sushi from somewhere in Kingston. I got to name the place because I actually don't know where it was. But a sushi place somewhere here in Kingston. She's not feeling well all of a sudden. So I'm on my own here if anything does go wrong computer-wise. You'll see me doing one of the old guy things like this, looking at the board as Dean pointed out. I'll be doing one of these. She's not feeling well. I feel fine. So far, so good. So we are live on Facebook. At least I hope we are. And this was from Facebook. This was on my Chris Machete page. So you can follow me as Chris Machete on Facebook. I mean, these are on there. And this is from a gentleman named Jim McDermott out of Ingersoll, Ontario. Excuse me. Hey, Jim, how you doing, buddy? Hope you're watching. Jim says, I really enjoy the shows. Last one with the gent from Death Angel. He's a very nice guy. It was really nice of him to spend so much time, and he seems to really enjoy talking to you guys. My favorite one was the ref and the wrestler. Great stories. Now, I don't know if you're there, Brent, or if you took off, but the cool thing about this comment that I really enjoyed is Jim got to witness an episode that we had banned that we can't show anymore.
There's only a handful of people in this fine planet of ours that
how much of a
that
coincidence is it, my friend Brent, that that is his favorite episode to date? That was such that was his.
What's not to love? What a great episode! What's not to love, Jim? Jim, that was literally one of the best wrestling conversations I've ever heard, and we were hosting it. So, I'm saying,
so he got to see it. If you saw that live, you got to see it. If not, man, that was it. You're never going to see that episode.
That's going to be an NFT soon. We're just going to sell it for like 10 G's.
We're not. Yeah, it was a big episode, but we are going to get Jim back, right?
Yeah, we're not getting him back till the new year, though, unfortunately. But
that's okay. But we're going to get him back. We need him back, dude. We need to let him talk and go and go. And
after you're done listening to, if you're watching us tonight, make sure you tune over to Monday Night Raw, and you'll see our buddy Adam. Mr. Edge is returning tonight. He's returning tonight. So
that was Jim. That's Jim, and that was on my Facebook page, right? And that's what Jim had to say. He liked the gent from Death Angel. And his favorite episode is the one that almost had us. Man, we were on our way to 1 million views, weren't we?
It literally would have broke the net because we got picked up by the rags, what they call the rags, which in essence is like the tabloids for the dirt sheets. They're called the tabloids for wrestling. Nothing is more polarizing than wrestling conversations, literally, because you're basically like team WWE or your team AEW, or then you get behind AEW and then they go, oh, it's getting too commercial. They just switch back and forth. They're like country music fans. Like they go, you know what I mean? Or like or whatever. It's like, I like Garth Brooks, but I really don't like that, that this guy or that. It's like, it's kind of all the same, really. And it's the same with wrestling fans are like, I love it all. I posted something on our Twitter the other day about, why we watch wrestling, which was CM Punk and MJF on the mic. Mm-hmm. If that's all it was, if wrestling dedicated a show to just promos, I would watch it all day. Because
you know what's funny, dude, is I'm a avid video gamer. I was on there last night playing some Dying Light. There's a couple people watching me, chatting with me, asking me questions. By the way, if you're watching me on play a video game on what's that?
Twitch.
On Twitch. Okay, friends. Yeah. If you're watching me play a video game on Twitch, I don't know how to answer you. I have no idea. I really don't. I play the game. It's funny because somebody sent me a message. How do you blah, blah, blah? And I'm yelling at the TV. You do this. You do what? I was like, what are you doing? He's like, somebody asked me a question. That's not how you answer them, Chris. It's like,
no.
So I just kept playing.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I think that it's anyways, it was good, Jim. Thanks for watching, and hopefully one day you'll be able to see that episode. But Jim Corderas is promised to come back, and we're going to get him back, and maybe we'll get the other guy too, and then we'll just switch it all up.
We'll see what happens. So thanks, Jim McDermott. Hopefully you're watching right now, buddy, and cheers, dude. Cheers.
You've got some stuff to show off. I want to show off a couple of my favorite. I got some Superman stuff that I kind of pulled out of the old.
Awesome.
So anyways,
you want me to drop some knowledge on everybody right now and just show everybody how smart I am when it comes to comic books? And
let me show you how I'm not that as smart as you.
Oh no, go ahead. No, I'm just going to do like history, and then I can show some books. But if you want to, you should show off your collection.
This is like one of my favorite. As I said, this is one of my favorite. Covers.
Get that full screen so everybody can see the artwork on that, man. Because the artwork's the stuff you want to see.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the old full. Let me just do that here. I'll stand by. Okay, so this is absolutely my favorite Superman cover. It's so rad, and they also
by George Perez does the art on that one.
They also had Mega Man on the back.
Mega Man 2, dude.
Yeah,
Mega Man
it was
2.
really great. They just had some really great stuff in here. Like, what a great. Are you familiar with this artist?
George Perez is amazing. He had a great run on Teen Titans, a great run on the Avengers, dude. Fantastic artist. Fantastic.
Can you explain? You know what I would love for you to do? Can you tell someone how to read a comic book?
Tell who?
Tell everyone how you were supposed to read a comic book.
What do you mean?
Well, I think people get confused by which box do I start with.
Well, the box is the narration. So you want
Right.
to read the box first, and it'll describe what's going on in the scene or something you missed or what he's doing, and then you'll get his opinion on what the narration is, and you're in a thought bubble or something. If it's round, it's called a thought bubble. If it's just like a straight line, he's talking. If it's like a jagged line, he's screaming.
Look at that.
That's what's going on there, man. They've actually got rid of the thought bubbles now. There's no more thought bubbles.
No,
they don't do that anymore.
In July they had the gigantic comic book convention that was happening in New Jersey. You were probably there.
Nice! Look at that.
Look at that. That was in Philadelphia, and then the top one is New Jersey, which is hilarious. Okay, so that's my favorite cover anyway. Superman featured in Action Comics. So very, very
George
cool.
Perez is a fantastic artist. See, now what you do is you start looking for George Perez covers, right? And then you'll be happy with all the artwork that you get for your Superman stuff.
So then there was a crossover one.
Mm-hmm.
We got Starman with Suddenly Superman.
Well, that's cool, huh? Look at that.
Just a little appearance. So I was at that point, I was like, "Oh, Superman's in that. I'm going to buy it."
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they had an ad for Dragonlance on the back, which is interesting.
Ooh.
I always like to show the ads because you like to show the ads.
I love the ads, dude.
This is an older one here. It's a 6-part miniseries.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of what we're talking about today, the Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
So this one here.
Okay, that's John Byrne art. That's great. John Byrne's one of my all-time favorite artists. He's a Canadian.
John Byrne is.
John Byrne, yeah, I believe that's John Byrne, right? Go to the top again for me, please.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, okay, sorry. And he's fantastic. He's like one of my top 3 artists ever. John Byrne is so influential on me. So that was a big thing when he jumped from Marvel to DC to do that. I remember.
It's a really great.
The art's really clean, right? His art is really crisp and clean. You can see everything that's going on. He puts all his detail in the background and leaves the foreground heroes just kind of translucent, so that they're popping right out. Not translucent, but nice linear is what the word I'm looking for. Yeah, great, huh? Yeah, Byrne's awesome. John Byrne's one of my favorites.
Very cool.
One of my favorites.
I've got a great one here. World's Finest Comics. Remember these?
Oh, for sure I do. Yeah.
So here's a Batman and Superman.
Right on. Yeah, that's where they gem up a couple heroes, right?
And it's Hannigan and Jansen.
Nothing too much that I would. Yeah, none of my faves in there, but
the old school Batman logo.
Yep.
In television, Dungeons and Dragons on the back.
Oh, that's so cool. I like that picture actually better, to be honest with you, but that's like
sure.
So
but this is just
retro.
an older comic, so.
Oh, I know, dude. Yeah, I know. They can't all be done by John Byrne and Perez.
When the law is not enough, Chris.
Was it
Vigilante?
Oh, nice. I have that. Is that number 1? Because I have that.
Oh,
If that's an ad for number 1, I just bought the number 1, then I kind of bailed.
You just got it?
Yeah.
Oh,
no, a while ago, like when it came out. I got, but I'm sorry. I meant I only purchased number 1. I didn't get any more after that.
Jeez, there's some good stuff in here.
Oh, I love the ads. That's one of my favorite parts when I'm reading an old comic when I pick it up. Yeah, look at that. Right? Is that for the Superman game? Superman 3 game.
So this would have been about 82, 83.
Nice, good year, man. Those are good.
Anyway,
times.
so that's mine doesn't come anywhere close to Chris's, but I do have a bit of retro Superman stuff that I bought. So Chris is going to deep dive into Superman here.
Yeah, okay, let's just go over everything. So, yeah, smack some knowledge at you, my friends. So we got Action Comics. Superman first appeared in Action Comics in 1938. Again, the thing that blows my mind is the how long these heroes that were created in the 30s. Well, Spider-Man was 63. This is 1938. Superman was created. Come on, he kind of looks almost identically the same, except for the texture on uniform, right? So this is 1938, Action Comics, first appearance of Superman. Man, okay, so it was written by Jerry Siegel, and the art was by Joe Shuster, who was born in Toronto. Man,
oh, Toronto boy. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so that's again, that's back in 1938. Holy cow! So it has reached issue 1000. I didn't buy it. I'm not a huge Superman fan, and it was I think it was like $15, and I was like, no, I'm not going to buy it. I'll find it in a dollar bin later, my friends. If you follow me on TikTok, you see my dollar bin hunts. I'm the comic book hunter.
Follow us on TikTok as well.
Yeah, for sure. I share the other stuff on there as well. TikTok, we have Kids on the Escalator, and we have Chris Machete Comics, and we got your coffee ones on there. We're all on there. I think
We're
all
on
linked.
there.
It's good.
Grown-ups make the best.
Yeah, dude. So the comic book is worth. Check this out.
The first
Now,
one,
people-
Superman number
yeah,
1,
This is Action Comics number 1.
Action Comics.
Okay, where he first appeared, 1938. Now, if you can find because people don't think this exists, but if you can find one in mint condition, which is like a 9, 9.5, 10, which you don't find a 10 of anything. If you can find a 9 or a 9.5 in this comic book, it is worth between $8 and $10 million. Okay. The last one that sold, now Spider-Man's first appearance from Amazing Fantasy just beat this. This was the highest selling comic. Spider-Man just beat it by, it sold a book for 3.3 million. Superman Action Comics sold for 3.2 million back in 2014. So that was, I believe, 0.8. I think it was worth, or 8. It was like an 8 out of 10 in shape. And that's how you grade your comics, on how good a shape they are. You can't have a comic that's covers missing and expect to get top dollar for it. It does not work that way. Or coffee stains or writing. No. So anyway, 2014, a copy sold for $3.2 million for a comic book. Damn. That's awesome.
You got like 4 of those for Spider-Man.
Yeah, I wish I had 4 of those. I'd be on an island somewhere if I had 4 of those, because I'd sell 3 of them. Okay, so that's in 1938. 1939, it went to a comic strip, and this is where it really gained steam, right? So it was a strip, and that's, for people who don't know, it's just a sideways deal with about 4 or 5 panels in it. And
In the newspaper?
It was in all the newspapers. Okay. Well, this is cool. So this is back in the day. This is where you got your viewers or your readers. They had up to 20 million readers. And this is every day, because this was basically in the comic strips every day. All right. And it was a storyline that went on. And this went on right up until 1951. All right. Now, why do you think it stopped being on the radio? Or sorry, why do you think it stopped? Never mind. It went from the newspaper to the radio. I was going to say, Brent, why do you think it stopped being a newspaper? Because it went to radio. All right. So they had a radio show from 1940 to 1951. Yeah, right. So that was like, tune in for our show tomorrow, kids. We have
That's
Superman.
when the War of the Worlds was there too. Remember they did the War of the Worlds?
In the 40s. Look at the longevity of this hero, my friend. Yeah. Like the families that created obviously the creators are passed away. Their families should be making, and hopefully they are making, a lot of money. Because this is insane how similar he looks. Basically,
I'd be curious to see what happened with that deal. Honestly, if we're looking at deals, I'm wondering if, like,
you know what?
Warner
I'm going to look into that. You know what? I'm going to do. That's a great idea. Fantastic idea. Because I do know that they weren't even allowed to keep their pages back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah. Nowadays, you just scan them, put them in and everything. But you know what, dude? I think my deep dive next week should be the business side of character creation. I think that would be really interesting. Sure. Okay, so I'm going to look into that. So let's get back to Superman and his progression from 1938. Again, if you're not mind blown by the fact that this guy was created in 1938, then you need to sit down and think about some stuff, because this is just insane. All right. Radio show from 1940 to 1951. Now, Brent, why do you suppose they stopped the radio show in 1951?
Well, I'm guessing that the television was created.
You're correct, dude. You're totally correct. So from
wow.
1952, The Adventures of Superman kicked in on TV to 1958. And that was our good friend George Reeves, not Christopher Reeves, but George Reeves. Mm-hmm. So that starts a whole other story of the Superman curses.
He started the curse. Yeah, he started the curse. So
so interesting. So that is a very iconic series, The Adventures of Superman. And if you're into getting some some great theories that will drive you a little nuts, jump into the characters who have played in the Superman movies. Lois Lane has another little spot in there too, but we're not getting into that too much. So, and then it just kept going. So my point here is, from 1938, there's been something on TV or printed about Superman. Only, and not just one. It's not like there's only
Right.
one television show and one comic book since then. Right now,
Yeah.
you can probably find 5 different Superman comic books, and that's just Superman, not including Justice League. I just watched the Superman cartoon movie. I just watched The Man of Steel. It's like there's so much accessible. 1938, this dude was created. You don't see Deadpool back in 1938, right, dude?
No.
There's, you know what I mean? Like, or the 60s. There's no, wow, how come Deadpool's never been really campy? Because he was created in the 90s. He was cheesy, not campy.
Yeah. And it's funny how they were able to salvage that character.
Who's that?
Deadpool.
Deadpool. Well, he was the
Because-
same. He was, you know what he was, dude? And he's a mock of a DC character. You got Slade Wilson. Wade Wilson is
Yeah.
Deadpool. Slade Wilson is Terminator.
So it's funny because he almost didn't, like, thankfully he relaunched it. I know we're on Deadpool now, but he relaunched it because, that original X-Men appearance by him.
New Mutants. He started on New
Yeah,
Mutants.
is panned, but I'm saying, like, when he was in the movie as
Oh,
Ryan
the
Reynolds,
movie one. Oh,
he
that
was
not
panned.
done
He was
by-
panned as, like, as bad as he was as the.
That was so bad. That is the worst moment in comic movie history, I think, dude.
Well, what about the other one? What was the other one he was in? He was the Green
Lantern. Well,
Yeah,
it was just badly done. But having Deadpool with all those powers and with his mouth, wow.
So, anyways, they rescued and salvaged that, which is great.
Oh, super time. Well, yeah, Ryan Reynolds stepped in there and said, "No way, let's fix it."
And to the point where he actually canned, like, the director on the second one because he was like, "No, it's got to stay like this," and it's awesome because they wanted to take it a
Ryan
different way.
Reynolds, good Canadian dude, right?
Yeah,
Why haven't we had Ryan Reynolds on the show yet?
those little kids.
We're all
Those
Canadian.
little kids from Ottawa. There's like 3 little dudes that are like 9 years old that have a podcast, and they got them.
Come on, Ryan.
No one
Buddy,
likes
we're a
that.
huge fan.
No one's
dude.
hanging out with mid 40 / late. I'll go late 40, early 50 guys from that world because we've been trying to get Kevin Smith, and it's
You
not
know
happening.
what, Mr. Reynolds, sir? If you came on our show, I'm sure Kevin Smith would come on after. Maybe we could get Hugh Jackman after as well. Could you imagine that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Ryan
Let's get
Reynolds,
them all.
sir. If we can get Hugh Jackman, will you come on our show?
No, I'll bet you he won't. But if we got, let me just think here. Who would, you know what?
Who could we
I had,
entice? Okay, that's a great audience question.
I had Fred Penner on my show.
Oh,
And the reaction I got from having Fred Penner, because he was talking about Mr. Dress Up and everything, was great. And everyone was like, this is awesome. So if I can get Fred Penner to come on,
okay.
maybe Ryan Reynolds will be like, oh, Fred Penner's place. Yeah. Maybe that'll get him.
Okay,
Maybe.
well, do it. Brent, do the invite and we will copy this and send it out. Hello, Ryan Reynolds. We have a message for you.
That's right. We need you on the show. And then we promise to bring Fred Penner if you agree to do it.
And
Sure.
we'll talk about, we really like to talk just about the history of Deadpool and the history of Fred Penner and what would happen if they teamed up.
Oh, wouldn't it be great? Fred Penner and Deadpool. I
think that'd be a great,
I like this. I like it a lot.
great team up. What if?
You want to go, okay. So there's that side of it. And then you wanted to talk quickly. The boys are going to start soon. We launched this series. We launched this podcast basically after episode 1 of The Boys came out, and then we did a review on it. We did the whole thing. So clearly, The Boys, for anyone listening and watching that hasn't seen it yet, is in essence, well, it's a world of superheroes, and the superheroes are all assholes, and it's a big corporate kind of schmoz, and it's really cool.
Well,
it's a different take on superheroes, which is awesome.
A company is creating superheroes instead of them naturally being discovered, or hey, there's a mutant over there. What's he doing with him? Or wow, this guy built an iron suit. It's not like that. It's like this company is creating superheroes and saying, "Oh no, you were chosen by God. We had nothing to do with it." They're trying to hide it, right? But the secret's coming out now. Homelander was raised in a room, basically, no love, nothing like that. Superman was raised by Ma and Pa Kent on a farm. Great, wholesome, beautiful, caring parents.
Yeah.
Now, Homelander not. Homelander totally controlled by the government. Superman at odds with it. He is the essence, the actual opposite of Superman. What a great story that is there. Now, here's the one key thing that a lot of casual readers won't pick up on. When Superman uses his heat vision, it's a last resort. 1, because it's so powerful, and 2, because it drains him. Okay? What is Homelander's first go-to weapon?
Always the laser eyes.
It's his, and he doesn't even need to. He could flick them. He could blow them away. No.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. That right there tells you everything about Homelander. You know what I mean? It's like you're I'm trying to think of you're hunting. Our friend Dent is hunting.
Yeah.
And he's
He
hunting
pulls
a
out a
squirrel
machine gun.
and he's hunting a squirrel with a cannon. That's what, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
the essence
Totally.
of that.
It's I like how they've touched on, they got a Flash character in there. They've got a Wonder Woman-ish character in
Yeah.
there. That's really cool. Everyone should watch The Boys. Season 3 is starting
It's coming
soon.
up. Yeah, it's coming up soon. It's
And
going to be
it's
great.
gonna be
But
awesome.
it's
It's
there's
gonna
going
be
to they're
awesome.
bringing back a lot of the older heroes, so it's going to be a little bit of
Mm.
retro coming in from the guys from back in the 60s and 70 heroes, and of course they're
Talk
still
about
alive.
story arc. Talk about
Oh, it's
great
going to be
story
great.
writing.
Okay. And everybody
Seth
wants to see
Rogen.
what happens to
Seth Rogen
Homelander. Though.
produced.
Yeah,
Seth Rogen
right.
produced.
Yeah,
So how
yeah.
about that?
But
Who knows what's going on?
everybody wants to see what happened to Homelander, man. That's like he's the hero. You hate him, but you love him. This is what I was mentioning about when you're creating villains. You really got to be careful that you don't create a villain that everybody likes if that's not what you're looking for. You know what I mean? Like Homelander's kind of like, oh yeah, like when he kills villains, part of you is like, yes, well done. But he's careless about it, and he's a jerk.
It's funny
right?
about that guy because it's like when you look at him, and I think this is why the show is really interesting to people because he looks just like Bradley Cooper.
He does,
And
doesn't he?
people are kind of like, is that Bradley? And then they keep watching, and then what the fuck are we watching? And it's just like an unbelievable show. And
it's answering the question everybody asks: what if heroes were not on our side?
Exactly.
And so, as a writer, Garth Ennis, I believe it was that did this, who's done amazing. That's all he needed was that question. Boom, and then he just went.
Yeah,
it's great.
Awesome
great idea.
stuff.
That's what you do, right? Like, what a great idea! What a great idea.
So, Homelander, Superman, same guy, different scenarios, but
and
very,
the
very
ways
cool.
that top it off. Oh, and one other thing I just want to add on top of that. So you see how powerful his eye beams are, right?
Mm-hmm.
How powerful do you now think Cyclops is from the X-Men? Because his don't really wear out unless he's like fighting like a planet or something, right? So how powerful Cyclops always has those. So that just again to all the people who think Cyclops is, he doesn't shoot beams out of his eyes. Yeah, but those beams are as strong as Superman's heat vision, man. Like, whoa. Okay,
we're gonna do some Nerds on Ice before we
cool.
get out of here because we got to talk about the disaster that is the Canucks and the awesomeness that is the Leafs. So
who's leading the Leafs in points right now?
stand by.
Huh? Who's leading the Leafs in points right now? Up here.
Larry Tavares.
All the guys on the channel here. I love you sports guys on our Dean Blundell channel. But I bet if you watched our first show and went back, and you heard the predictions I made, this comic book guy with a bandana and glasses on, and you'd be like, oh, that guy's nuts. So far, so good. Tavares is leading in points, is what I predicted. And Colorado is looking like they're not having a season. They may have to dump Kadri. I'm not saying Kadri's going to come and stay with the Leafs, but I think he's going to come for the playoffs, my friends. That's my second prediction.
Well, a lot of the teams aren't living up to it. The Canucks are shitting the bed.
Okay, I'll hand the Canucks thing off to you then, my friend.
Yeah, well, they're just holding on by a thread, and Travis Green's still coaching, and Jim Benning is still the GM, and it's like they have so much talent on that team that it's just like I have no idea why they're not gelling, and it's just an unbelievable thing. People are like, is it a coaching thing? Is it a there's a riff in the dressing room? There's all this
Bergeron's
shit. The same stuff that the Leafs went through a couple years ago, where it was like, who's captain, Tavares or Matthews?
Right.
And then it was like, well, it's Tavares, and they've made Bo Horvat the captain in Vancouver, but JT Miller is like the guy that's like rah 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 and all the rest of it. So you got the strong silent type. And then here's the interesting thing. The Twins picked Bo Horvat to be the captain.
Oh.
The Twins were like, if we're going to leave, we think Bo Horvat would be the great captain for the Canucks. And so he's been great. He's a former London Knight. He's been awesome. Miller's like every jock you've ever met.
Oh no.
Probably listens to the Tragically Hip.
That's fine from Kingston. That's okay.
I'm just saying, probably listens to the Tragically Hip. Probably drinks Timmy's. Gotta have my Timmy's. Whatever. And then all the rest of it, and likely snaps towels.
Okay, you got me there.
Bo Horvat's probably the guy that's like, take the towel and fold it up and put it away on the shelf.
He's the guy that grew up watching the Rob Lowe Youngblood hockey movie, and thought then, and just
Right.
still lives that, right?
Right. So it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. They say if by American Thanksgiving you're out of the playoffs, you've got like a 20% chance of making it. So now the Canucks move into cellar mode in the next 6 weeks if they don't figure it out. So it's a mess out here in Vancouver to go with the floods. Everyone's not happy, but at least we don't have any snow. So there we go. I heard
We got a little bit of snow, but it's
you got a
starting to
little
go
bit of
away.
snow.
I kind of like the snow. I'm not.
Leafs had the best November they've ever had.
Dude, Leafs
And,
are rocking it. They got a tough team.
Campbell has a 1.3 save percentage. Like,
Great
and
goalie.
it's crazy. So, anyways, a tale of two cities, and Chris still leads the predictions with Tavares leading the charge.
Again, to our friends on the network who do sports, I apologize, but I'd like to hear their predictions. But we don't do a lot of sports on here. We just do like Leafs and Canucks, just hockey, right? But I grew up with hockey as long as I grew up with Spider-Man, dude. So my dad was one of those guys that would take me to the rink every Sunday morning and shop me around to those games 3 times a week. Good dude.
Dangerous Dorothy, Gracious Gary, how you doing, guys? I know you're watching. Hi, guys. Good to see you. Hope you're doing great. Okay, so that's another Monday night. I mean, there's so much to get into. We got our Christmas shows coming up. We've got we're going to be doing a Mandalorian preview coming up because it's going to be starting right after Christmas. And so
Boba Fett, man. Boba Fett's coming up.
Boba Fett's coming up soon too. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Doomsday.
Boba Fett's coming up. Lots of there's always lots of stuff we can talk about. We're gonna get some guests back on here.
Back into it too. That's Chris Machete. Give us a Skeletron update, sir, because we're
issue 2 is available. You could buy it right now. I'm there it is. Issue 2 still available. We're still finishing up issue 3. We had that holdback with the computer. Don't mean to make excuses, but right now we have I'm getting a lot of commissions. Thank you very much, and they're becoming high-end commissions for some very talented people in music and TV. So I have to put those ahead of the comic book, unfortunately. And I have some workshops coming up that I'm in high demand for at a local comic book store, SBT Comics. So here in Kingston, if you want your kids to go to one of my workshops, we're announcing it tomorrow. Only 10 spots available. Ooh. And it's, So, the comic is in this computer right beside me here. We're just adding the dialogue. I think we're halfway through, and then we can get it out there. And I apologize for I have now people that are on a subscription for me. You don't pay anything, but you're on the list. So as soon as the comic comes out, we send you and bill you. So that's another. I've got 6 people on there. That's not a lot, but I've got like 6 people on there on the mailing list now, which is great.
We've got and check our Twitter too if you want to see a really cool commission and just a picture that Chris did of Batman and Bret the Hitman Hart.
That's an oldie too.
I put up today and we tagged him. So, and ironically, I had a little chat with the lad today and just a general chat about life and
who'd you chat with?
Mr. Hart today.
Oh, Bret Hart, Little Mr. Hart. So, I don't think he wants to be called Little Mr. Hart.
Yeah,
I think isn't he the excellence of execution?
He is, and I put in there that that comic and the Batman Hitman merger was probably the first time that's ever happened. I'm guessing.
Well, that's another guy that I'd love to have on the show. Again, Ryan Reynolds, Mr. Reynolds. If you come on our show, Bret Hart would probably come on our show. It would open the floodgates of just like all these. My parents would probably come on the show, Ryan Reynolds, if you came on our show.
Listen, Gary. We're getting you on the show. We're talking used cars. Dorothy, I think we're going to have story time with Dorothy.
There you go.
We're going to do a little something there. All right,
everybody. Bring you up to date on current events because she watches the news a lot.
That is Monday night.
Do
yourself a favor. Check us out online on the Dean Blundell Network and all the things that you got to do. They got some great stuff going on there.
Leave comments. We'll talk about it.
Bonzi's on. I think Bonzi's live after us tonight. So, hey, Bonzi, have a good show.
Do it, Bonzi.
Dean's over there continuing to rile up the people, which is awesome. And I riled some up last week, which was awesome.
Check it out.
And,
don't even worry about it. Just check it out.
Yeah, check it out. It's a lot of fun.
What are you worrying about? Just check it out. There's nothing to worry about. Check it out.
It's great.
Watch the show.
Check it out.
Check it out. Why aren't you checking it out? Don't even worry about it. Just check it out.
Kids on the Escalator podcast for a Monday night.
Sorry.
Oh, I haven't even watched
Rick I know. It's throwing a Rick and Morty out there. But somebody got it. Yet. Don't even worry about it.
Someone will get it.
Don't even worry about it. Just what are you worrying about? Just watch the show. It's over now. You have to turn it off. So don't even worry about it anymore. Just turn it off. What are you worrying about?
I'll turn it off. You want me to turn it off?
Don't even worry about it. What are you worrying about?
This will drive me fucking crazy.
We can turn it off now. There's nothing.
That's
to worry
Kids
about.
on the Escalator podcast, everybody.
Don't even worry about it. Just turn it
Good
off.
times.
Rad
Good
dudes.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Baby shark, baby shark.
Asshole.